new Shadow Hunt event here in Black Ops 6 Zombies has brought us a couple of new goodies, one of which is the binary trigger for one of the better SMGs in the game, the Tonto 22. But how's this going to stack up in game? How's it going to compare to the base Tonto? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back out to the channel. So I absolutely love when we get these attachments for weapons that completely change the entire profile of a weapon. So the Tonto 22 is a slightly above average, slow firing, fully automatic SMG here in Black Ops 6 Zombies. But now we have this binary trigger attachment for it, which is going to turn it into a semi-automatic weapon. And with the binary trigger, every time you fire the weapon, it's going to fire a single bullet. And every time you release the trigger, your mouse or your controller trigger, it is going to fire another bullet. So basically, essentially just doubling whatever fire rate that you were able to achieve with your particular finger. Everybody is a little bit different. You might be able to click it 200 times a minute. You might be able to click it 370 times a minute. Everybody is going to be a little bit different. So the numbers in the DPS is when we start going over this, because we are going to be a little bit more technical and analytical here in comparing this to the base Tonto. But everybody's numbers are going to be a little bit different there. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you want to figure out what it is, you can figure out what your particular fire rate is, how many times you can click a button, and then you can kind of figure out what your damage per second numbers and everything are going to be from there. Now, just a couple of things that I kind of felt when I was using this weapon. The fire rate seems very, very high. I feel like I can fire this way faster than I can fire this Tonto when it's fully automatic. At least that's what it feels like to me in game anyway. And I should be achieving a relatively higher fire rate with it. It's relatively easy to control. The recoil is pretty high, so you need to have halfway decent recoil control when you're firing this. However, the amount of recoil that you get whenever you're firing this weapon is completely dependent on you, because the slower you fire the weapon, the less recoil you're going to have to deal with. But the more you're smashing that trigger, of course, the more recoil that you are going to have to deal with this weapon. And it does have a pretty strong pull to the north there. So you got to be able to be pulling down on your thumbstick or your mouse or a little bit in order to keep that fire rate or that recoil under control, and keep your shots and get your critical shots and start hitting all of the shots. But again, you can control that if you just slow your fire rate down a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at the build for the Tonto 22. Of course, we are putting that binary trigger on there. That is going to be under the fire mods, and this is going to take away your ability to put a barrel or an underbarrel on it. But you can run your choice of optic. I'm going to run the suppressor, the extended mag 2, quick draw grip, no stock, in the Strelok laser. So I do have the numbers here for all of the zombie damage, all of the special and elite damage. I also have damage numbers for the Guardian boss fight as well. And if you keep an eye on my spreadsheet, is an ever-growing spreadsheet. It's going to be linked down in the description below. You can see the massive amount of data that we are starting to collect on all of these weapons here in Black Ops 6 Zombies, and this is available for you to view anytime, and you can see each and every update that we're making. I still haven't taken either the regular Tonto or this Tonto against Patient 13 yet, but that is coming. And again, keep an eye on that spreadsheet, again linked down in the description below. Tons of awesome information on that. And a special shout out to OG Bug Eyes, who has been working a ton behind the scene here to help make sure that we have the most accurate numbers that we can on this spreadsheet and have as much information as we can possibly deliver to you guys right now. So make sure you give that man a little bit of love when you see him. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop on over in here to the spreadsheet. We're going to take a look at the Tonto 22. I'm going to go ahead and hide a lot of this information for now so we can focus in on just what we need. Okay, so we're just going to take a look at the base Tonto 22. We're going to compare it to the binary trigger here in just a moment. So your base critical damage is 6,335. Your pack-a-punch fire rate is 575 rounds per minute. So this is going to give you a DPS of 60,710. And as you can see, based on the weapons we have tested so far, we are a little bit above average on that. It's actually a little bit more closer to average than it actually appears right here. If you take away a couple of the shotguns, which actually have very low DPSs, just based on the way that they actually work in game, that DPS will actually come up to about 57,000 on average for what we have, but it is still above average of a weapon. And for an SMG in the mobility and everything, I really do enjoy it. And of course, once you get the dead shot, dead break on there, you're going up to 70,121. And then when we take a look at the DPS against all of the specials and elites here, you can see that we are generally above average as far as just about every single one of these categories are concerned, with the exception of Mangler armor. It's not the best weapon to break the armor of a Mangler, but it does pretty well. Once you break the armor, it's got an above average DPS for the Manglers, and everything else is above average across the board here. Again, not by much, but just a little bit, and it makes it a very viable weapon here in Black Ops 6. And again, I don't have the Patient 13 numbers here for the Tonto, but I do have the Guardian damage numbers here. And again, it is weak to the Guardian armor. It is below average here. So obviously your DPS to the Guardian armor is going to be below average as well, and you're still going to fall below average when it comes to the critical damage against the Guardian fight, but not by a lot. It is very much a viable weapon for the Guardian boss fight. So if you're looking for something new and want to try out the Tonto, the base Tonto against the Guardian, go ahead and give it a shot. But let's go ahead and compare some of these numbers with the binary trigger here and see how things change. Okay, so once we take a look with the binary trigger here, so I'm going to put a pack-a-punch fire rate of 710 rounds per minute. That's 355 clicks of the mouse every single minute. Some of you cannot even achieve those numbers. I can barely achieve those numbers on mouse and keyboard, and that is just absolute spamming, and it's extremely difficult to do in game. So one thing I do want to preface here is every single number that we're about to talk about here is actually going to be a little bit lower for you in game. Realistically, it's going to come out lower, but as far as the statistical whatever is concerned, I just wanted to base it on whatever the fastest that some people can pull the trigger, and we're just going to kind of roll with that. But just know that most of you out there, your damage numbers are going to be lower. So your base critical damage is 4,064. Armor damage drops to 520. This is going to bring your DPS from that 60,710 with the normal Tonto all the way down to 48,091. And again, you're going to be a little bit lower than that. Most of you, not all of you, but most of you are going to be lower than that. And of course, we're going to see that same carryover when it comes to the specials and elites. As you can see, a massive drop across the board in your DPSs against the Manglers, the Doppelgas, the Abominations, the Amalgams. Everything is taking a massive hit to their DPS in the damage potential. This weapon feels really good when you're using it. It feels like it's firing fast. It feels like it's killing. But really, realistically, when you take a look at the numbers, you are taking a massive hit when it comes to all of the damage that you can deal in this game right now. So of course we took it into the Guardian, and guess what? A little bit more of the same thing. You got a huge hit to the armor damage there, drops it all the way down to 72. Giving you just an 852 damage per second against the Guardian armor. It took me forever to break the armor on the Guardian just so I can start dealing some critical hits, which only did 1,247 per shot and was only 14,756 DPS, which you can see is significantly below average. Okay, so my final takeaways here on this binary trigger for the Tonto 22. I don't care what the hell anybody else is telling you out there on YouTube right now. This is not overpowered. This is so incredibly disappointing. So incredibly disappointing, this entire attachment. I was really excited for this one. I was hoping that this would be really good and make the Tonto even better, but it has made it significantly worse here in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Something that is actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be here in Black Ops 6 Zombies is Lightman. So if you'd like to go ahead and check out that video, go ahead and click right here. My name is Cool Whip, and I'm out.